So there is a particular classic signature I see on blood tests, and I've been seeing it over and over and over. And this is controversial, how the COVID vaccines have been constituted. Now, if you've injected a dead virus, it is like a dead virus and it will just flow out of the body in whichever way it
Some
does.
point, somehow. Yeah.
If it is genetically programmed to keep producing the spike, where is the off switch? Israel did a study on this, and they studied, I think, about 65,000 emergency calls. Israel, which had taken the vaccine. They found that there was a significant number who were reporting more with cardiac complaints as emergency calls. सबकी biology affect हो रही है.
Post-COVID.
It's not related to the illness. Particularly Indian population, there are studies that say that we are aging 20 years faster than the global population because of the we are immersed in.
Hi, so this podcast is with Dr. Nidhi Dhawan. She's an ENT specialist, but that's a very small part of her introduction. She's an avid reader, and in this podcast, she's talking from everything to do with brain to how human beings transition to transgenerational trauma and survival to COVID and to a whole gamut of things. It's fantastic. I hope you enjoy it.
So when we talk about the organization of our brain, we are talking about this conversation is happening at a very cortical level. This is intellectual, this is you're controlling it, and this is an executive function of the brain where decisions come, where devotion, meditation, and judgment, criticism, sarcasm, the nuanced emotions that a human being feels are in the cortex. However, what underpins those emotions is happening in the midbrain and the limbic brain. So those areas of the brain are carrying generational memories for us. And that's why I say the biology is programmed to be safe, to be
so genetically,
constant,
generationally.
And what was unsafe for the caveman no longer exists. And yet that change is considered unsafe by the modern man, and he responds in that way. So
because it's all sitting there.
Because it's all sitting there. And that's why, the concept of actually having the brain like that, like a fist, really works because you have to integrate all parts of the brain. So if this was the spinal cord, this is your cerebellum, this is your midbrain or the limbic lizard brain, and this is your mammalian brain. So the mammalian brain is forming a cortical cover over everything else, and it needs to integrate. And there are two of these.
I see.
And they are communicating in between. So when you talk about left brain, right brain, and when you say that the left brain predominantly does this and the right brain predominantly does that, those are not real. All parts of the brain do everything. It's through this corpus callosum that the interconnections get formed. And for right-handed people, it will be the left brain which will be more dominant in language.
That's true. Yeah?
The right-handed people will have left dominance for language.
Okay.
Both spoken and written.
Okay.
The left-handed people will have right dominance for language. And emotions
What difference does it make, whether it's left or right?
It doesn't. But all the areas of language then have their connections outside. So what gets fed into your cortex and which part of the cortex will determine kind of how you respond to the world. But so that's why I'm saying that it's not really that the right brain is the creative brain and the left is the logical. It's not.
For so long, we've been made to believe that. I was also wondering that it can't be like this one data point goes and somewhere in the center, something gets decided, it's creative or it's logical. So it goes on this side or this side. It can't be.
So the chemistry doesn't work like that. But there would be areas of the brain which are more able to program for spatial orientation, and some areas of the brain which are able to more process logical facts. But it's not cut and dry, hard right and left. It's not like that.
So this is like at a biological, at a science level. But how do you perceive or define transitions in your personal life? As not a doctor, as just a human, if you can manage to switch.
Childbirth changes everybody. And it changes not just the woman, it changes the man also.
Yeah.
Job, getting in, getting out of jobs, those transitions. Pandemic was the hugest transition that our generation has faced.
Absolutely.
And it's so easily forgotten. I mean, it's just been, it's been for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
It's so easily forgotten.
Totally. Never happened, seems.
So the biology that keeps you the same, you forgot that uncomfortable, unsafe thing and went back to being who you were as you were.
The comfort part. Whatever was familiar,
whatever
the way
it was that you were doing.
And at that time, it seemed like we'll never come out of
We'll
it.
never come out of
these dents and these damages, we'll never forget. But we've sort of
but
gotten over
people
it.
have mostly forgotten.
Yeah.
The people who are going through those things that are now called long COVID, those are the ones who are remembering most of it, but mostly it's forgotten. So
you're saying any kind of a trauma gets forgotten?
Not necessarily, but sometimes yes. Any kind of trauma will lurk somewhere in the subconscious, and it does define your behaviors and responses to any fresh incoming trauma. But in your consciousness, you try to, so people try to be heroes in their own life.
Yeah.
Right?
All of us.
So when you think of the past struggles, you will think of, I did that. I went through it. I was like so strong at that time. While at that time you may have been at your weakest, you may have been
but
not
in
really,
retrospect,
but retrospectively you went through it. So then your memories are not faithful to what happened, but faithful to what you want to see happened. And that's why
how you want to remember it.
How you want to remember it defines how you play it out in your life.
But then who is this you then? When you say how you want to remember, who's you?
Should I bring in another interesting biological fact which will blow your mind?
Yeah.
So the red blood cells that are circulating in your body are going to die out in 120 days. That's 3 months.
Okay.
The bones renew in about, on a similar scale, a year or two. All cells renew. The skin renews in another 120 days or so. So if we were to calculate, your body is not the same in a 7-year cycle as it was 7 years before. So the concept of Prometheus ship, that if you were to change one log at a time, the ship that started the journey is not the ship that finishes the journey, and it's still the same ship.
Yes.
So the you that remembers is that faint thing called consciousness, if you choose to call it so, or the mind, if you choose to call it so. But a lot of people are just unconsciously just floating through life and not even figuring out that life is happening. So mostly people are just swimming in the water without realizing there is water all around.
And is this genetic?
This is evolutionary. So I wouldn't call it genetic at that level. I would call it evolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
And evolutionary psychology, in fact, does tell us that generationally,
Mm-hmm.
we not only pass down trauma, but also pass down survival memories.
Mm.
And that is how the human race has really survived.
Yeah. How to survive. The baby also knows how to
Baby
survive.
also knows how to
Mm.
survive.
Mm.
So these are very deep and very uh, very interesting
Very
topics.
interesting. Yeah.
In fact, there's a lot of research now going on that you and I are not really separate, and that our brain waves are connected somewhere.
Mm.
And this is the concept of the connectome.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you have a genome,
Mm.
so the entire genetic thing, the 23 chromosomes with that many genes, is the genome that defines the human being.
Yeah.
But the thoughts, the brain waves, the brain patterns are the connectome. And your connectome,
Mm.
the way the neurons connect,
Mm.
your connectome defines your personality. My connectome defines my personality. Where they interact defines our interaction. And the human connectome works in a similar way as the monarch butterfly. That butterfly fluttering in Africa causing the storm over the
Storm. Yeah.
Pacific.
Yeah.
So it's
Like it just so blends into one another and becomes a
that the
rhythm.
fabric
Hmm.
itself, and you don't know what is going to trigger what where.
Let's say transition, where it could be an independent person, an individual's transition. What I feel, like you said, that it's a discomfort, and hence it's not. It is eerie and uneasy. Then is that an individual feeling, or that's also something that's a community butterfly
No, the individual feels his own feelings,
coming from the
coming from the background of being human and evolved through all those ages.
Hmm.
Because the caveman probably did not survive into his 20s and 30s.
Hmm.
And that's why the most uncomfortable time is the 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
But now you survive well into 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
But you suddenly come to a loss of function around 50s and 60s.
Because that's where
so that
the
becomes
maximum.
that becomes another transition.
Hmm.
And sometimes these transitions get amplified by what other people are doing. So there will be people who will be insanely fit,
Hmm.
and you see your lack of fitness on that scale.
Yeah.
There will be some people who will be insanely happy,
Hmm.
and you see your unhappiness on that scale.
Right.
So everything gets amplified.
Hmm.
And the amplification is connectome,
Hmm.
but the experience is personal.
As an Indian, who and in the Indian history, where we have seen so many ups and downs, we are also carrying that generational information of not feeling secure enough ever, right? So even in today's time, where I feel we are doing better than our parents did in some manners, and clearly not in
Not in
many
many others.
other
Yeah.
manner, right?
Yeah.
But like the things, let's say the aspirational thing, it's more materialistic and aspirational, that we have it so called better, which they worked all their life and then had it, and we have it early on. But but that was all meant to give us safety.
Yeah.
Like the house that they built in their 50s, we built in our 20s and 30s. We chased it because it apparently would make us feel more secure,
True.
and it's not coming just from our parent, but it is this whole Indian history of being homeless, being driven out, being
Yeah.
beaten,
Yeah.
being not having that home. So how many generations does it take to heal?
Right now, right here, I guess. But that becomes so if there is enough momentum,
Hmm.
if there is enough number of people doing the healing at a particular time, then that generation heals.
Wow.
But
Hmm.
right now, globally, we seem to be in a transition. As a population, we are in a transition.
Yeah.
And this is a turbulent time. So there are those corn that are popping every now and then in every corner or so.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we'll have enough corn popping for this to be the healing time.
Hmm.
Doesn't look like that right now. It doesn't appear to be so right now. And a lot of ways, there are signs that it is not that time for generational healing.
What makes you say that?
The corrosion of trust
Hmm.
that came with the pandemic. I mean, you started questioning the very basics. Even as a doctor, I started questioning the trust that I could have in my own profession, in the governing bodies that were ruling the rules of the profession, the discourses that happened um, around the vaccine, around the virus, and the people who actually delved deep into it and brought out facts that did not fit into the narrative were called conspiracy theorists.
Hmm.
And now it is all coming out that they were not really talking conspiracy.
They were talking sense.
They were talking sense. And I've been an outlier.
Hmm.
Even during the pandemic, I've been an outlier. But yeah, so when there is so much lack of trust in the systems around you,
Hmm.
then the first basic need of safety, that's not taken care of.
Yeah.
And when that is not taken care of, then you can't be talking about leaving a legacy.
Bigger things. Yeah. Your basis is only shattered.
So one way to look at it is that it is so shattered now that there is nothing else to do but build it anew.
Hmm.
So healing happens.
Hmm.
And the other way to do it is that it is so shattered
Hmm.
that building something anew is the only way out, but it's going to take effort. So it's the time to build and forget about healing.
Hmm.
Healing will happen.
Later. So, since you touched COVID, why did you say you were an outlier? What were you doing?
So I'm an ENT surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, when we looked at COVID, it was starting from the nose,
Hmm.
going down the lungs.
Yeah.
And as ENT surgeons, we saw a lot of COVID. Uh, but as we went along, we realized that it was not just that. It's so what COVID has done is that the virus gains its entry through the nose and goes down to the lungs.
Hmm.
It's not the virus that kills or killed.
Hmm.
It's the response of the body that did that. Because the virus was so new, the body did not know when to stop and how strongly to react. The body reacted pretty strongly.
Hmm.
And that was what was called the COVID storm. So, this tipping point came around 8 to 10 days into the initial illness.
Hmm.
And I was seeing this over and over and over. And I I really went into the basics. I went into the cellular basis of inflammation, what was happening there, what were the interleukins, what were the cytokines doing, which cellular pathways were causing the body to go on fire. And um, at that time, I, for nearly a year and a half, did online training classes for doctors
Mm-hmm.
from that basis. So it was like how to recognize when the tipping point is coming,
Mm-hmm.
what to do when that tipping point is coming, what are the treatment protocols that will work towards early recognition and reversal of that tipping point. And I have, with deep gratitude, I must say that Dr. K.K. Agarwal really helped me put on that path, because he had started that venture. He started that thing about online platform of every Sunday getting together for 2 hours and discussing what COVID was doing to the community.
He was doing that.
He was doing
Everybody
that.
talks about that. Yeah.
The day he went into the ICU at, I think it was 6:37 in the morning, he called me. I was in that same group. He called me and he said, Nidhi, I'm going to the ICU. I don't know if I'll come out, but the show must go on. And I'm giving it to you. Now you got to run it. And it was like, my God, what am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
So for a year, every Sunday, I used to see what had happened in the last week, what were the insights from it, and what was the intervention that we could do so as to have early diagnosis, early treatment, early recovery put into place. And after a year or a year and a half after that, it became more like, ho to raha hai, chal to raha hai. And we forgot those.
We had gotten used to that
Yeah.
whole mess.
So we had started with a group of 50, 55 doctors. By the end of that year and a half, we were reduced to 30, 35. And they still get together. We still get together. But it's not so often, and it is not so focused.
Not so urgent.
And not so urgent now. But what that did also was it brought you alive to the fact that somebody needs to do it. Somebody needs to call it out. I mean, I was the one who was like questioning even Dr. Agarwal at that time. Why have mRNA technology? Why have vaccines like work like biologicals? Why not just work like vaccines?
Say some more about that. What's the difference?
So the difference is that if you look at how the COVID vaccines have been constituted, there are 2 or 3 platforms. Those one platform is, and this is controversial. So one platform is your mRNA platform, which loads the messenger RNA on a lipid nanoparticle.
Okay.
And this nanoparticle is injected into your arm. This has to be internalized into a cell where it will be incorporated into the nucleus and will produce spike protein. Now, this spike protein is programmed to be different from the viral spike protein in a significant way.
Sure.
But it is the spike protein. The body now has indigenously produced spike protein, which will be used to educate the body's cells to produce antibodies to that.
Yeah.
The other platform is just killing the virus and injecting a killed virus into the body. Now, this killed virus, once it goes in, will be recognized as a foreign material. The same process will happen, and the body will respond to the spike, the envelope, the nucleus, the rest of the
all of it
things that make the virus. That's first major difference. That was spike specific. This is spike non-specific, the 2 platforms. The other big difference, and that's a huge one, is where is the off switch?
There isn't.
There isn't. Now, if you've injected a dead virus, it is like a dead virus and it will just flow out of the body in whichever way it does.
Some point, somehow. Yeah.
If it is genetically programmed to keep producing the spike, where is the off switch? This was probably needed at the time that it was needed at. It was probably done with all good intention, but vaccinating an entire population, an entire generation, and not just one, 2, 3 generations, without too much thought being given
Yeah.
to the downstream implications.
Mm.
So the people who are now coming to even me, if I see a certain cluster of symptoms,
Mm.
I will say, did you get COVID?
What are these symptoms?
Some symptoms.
Okay.
And the next question would be, which vaccine did you get? The symptoms can be as varied as allergies that just don't let up. Suddenly, thyroid going out of whack, generalized malaise and tiredness, sleep disturbances, headaches that don't go, and apparently nothing wrong with your body that you can find on testing.
Mm.
They can be varied.
All that was not so before this time.
And it was not so before this.
Mm.
So you can say that, and in our medical education, we are told that the eye only sees what the mind knows.
Mm.
So there is a particular classic um signature I see on blood tests, and I've been seeing it over and over and over.
What is it?
There's certain type of cells that increase in number. Certain
Post COVID.
in these
Post-vac.
people who are in these people who are having unexplained symptoms which could correlate to COVID. A certain type of cells are more in number. A certain type of cell size is more in number.
That's because of having COVID or being vaccinated.
Could be either. So that's
We
related to
don't
the
know that.
spike.
Hmm.
It's not related to the illness.
The uncontrollable spike.
And that is why now there are many of us who are doing what we call a spike protein detox. We are encouraging people to go on to a counter-inflammatory or a low-inflammatory or a non-inflammatory lifestyle,
Hmm.
which could vagal reset, deep breathing, meditation, um, go off processed foods altogether,
Hmm.
try to just improve your sleep quality any which way.
Hmm.
So if you were to talk about the 3 pillars of health, there are many, but the 3 main ones, when we say diet, exercise, and sleep,
Hmm.
then sleep is more than diet and exercise put together.
Hmm.
And sleep is the one which is suffering the most.
Yeah. And this, what we don't know is that whether it's just because one had COVID or is it because they had vaccines. That
We don't know
don't know
yet
that.
because studies are few and far in between, and everything with this kind of a controversial hypothesis needs some work to be done to prove it one way or another.
Hmm. I
But
like
what I
that.
can tell you is
Prove it
that,
one way or the other.
yeah,
Yeah.
and what I can tell you is that whatever interventions
Hmm.
some of us are doing are working. So whether the premise is correct or not,
Hmm.
at least the reality is correct.
Hmm.
The ongoing inflammation is a fact.
Hmm.
Whether COVID contributed to it, vaccines contributed to it or not,
Besides the
is
point.
besides the point.
Yeah. So how do we control the inflammation? You're saying sleeping, correction, that's the biggest.
That's the biggest.
Yeah.
Go to a counter-inflammatory lifestyle. Even if you do it only 2 or 3 minutes, but just breathe in deep and let it out.
Hmm.
And so one of Sanjay's cousins, she was having racing heart, a lot of anxiety, and they were going to put her on a pacemaker. And we met at a party, and Sanjay was telling her, so when is the surgery? And I said, what surgery? And she said, so this is what is happening to me, and I just don't know how to control it. So I said, look, I'll not name her, but I
Sure.
said, look, all you need to do, and you can always have the pacemaker put if this doesn't work, but just 1 week, just do vagal breathing.
What's
And
vagal breathing?
vagal breathing is box breathing, that you breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, and exhale for a count of 4.
Okay.
So I said, just do this. And I gave her another exercise whereby you just grip the back of your head and without moving your head, just move your eyes and you will find the muscles at the back of your head
Tightening. Yeah.
Now, these two exercises, I told her, just do these two, breathing and eye exercises.
So move the eyes in both the directions without moving the
without
head.
moving your, just hold the position for 30 seconds each side.
Oh, hold it. Okay.
And you will find that, the back of the head,
It tightens.
Some people are not able to do it sitting, so do it in bed, lying down with your head clasped in your hands so that you feel that tension in the scalp. And she sent me back at the end of the week a BP monitor reading. The pulse rate of 225 had come down to 72 with just these two things. So what I'm saying is that anxiety and the inflammation are real. Whatever we are doing is working. It just needs, and rather than saying that, okay, this went wrong, this one was responsible, fix the blame, all that can happen.
Yeah.
But what needs to happen is not fixing the blame, but fixing the wrong.
What has happened out of that? उसको संभाल लो.
उसको संभालो. बाकी सब चीजें होती रहेंगी.
It can't be just coincidence कि in the year 2024 and 2025 young people are just popping dead. Just popping dead. I mean, इससे पहले heart attacks होते थे तो ऐसा डेड बहुत कम हो जाता था. अटैक होता
खड़े खड़े गिर गए ऐसा नहीं होता था.
गिर के मर भी गए
ऐसा नहीं होता
था. वो अटैक होता था, फिर ट्रीटमेंट होता था, फिर कुछ होता था. There would be a journey, but right now it's the youngest of the guys just popping dead. So is this also a cause and effect of the vaccination that we have taken?
So Israel did a study on this, and they studied, I think, about 65,000 emergency calls. And they compared a similar cohort before COVID.
They've done that.
How many were related to any heart complaint, emergency calls before and after COVID.
Right.
And they found a significant number. Israel, which had taken the Pfizer vaccine, they found that there was a significant number who were reporting more with cardiac complaints as emergency calls. So again, we don't know what did it. I don't know whether it was it was a population susceptibility, or it was the virus, or it was the vaccine. We don't know. Unless we do those studies, we can only make conjectures and we can only make temporal associations. This happened. So it's like to be causally related, but we don't know.
Not for sure.
What we do know is this is happening. What we do know for sure is that this could be happening because right now this is the status of the body. This is correctable, or at least dealable. Even if you can't correct it completely, at least you can mitigate it.
But how come when you say correctable, mitigatable, like how the fittest of the fittest people, like even the fittest of the fittest people are having heart attacks and really, really suffering, and the unfit is unfit, right? So then that, how is that even helping that if you're working and you're doing good and you're not just like doing it very suddenly?
So
people have been doing it for a while.
So what is to be noted is fitness is not equal to health. And health is not equal to fitness. You can...
What are you saying?
Yeah.
Then?
So somebody who could be 100 kg and could be healthy, and somebody who could be 60 kg could be extremely unhealthy.
Because that weight is one factor.
Because the weight is one factor, but he thinks, the 60 kg guy thinks that because he's doing everything right, he doesn't need to do anything more. It's almost like when you're fully geared up and you're on a motorbike, you will take a little more risk. and you're not doing it consciously.
You just feel that you can.
You're just doing it because you know you're invincible at that time, but you're not.
So that's the time when we could be ignorant to something else.
And it's also very strange that as you said कि इतना फिट होने के बावजूद भी ये सब हो रहा है, और बिल्कुल अनफिट होने के बावजूद भी कुछ नहीं हो रहा. Now my mother, she's bedridden right now. She was almost immobile when COVID happened. My dad got COVID. He took the vaccination. She could not step out of the house. She could not be vaccinated.
Oh.
She slept in the same room. She didn't get COVID.
And being unwell, so low on immunity.
Being unwell. She didn't get COVID. My dad had to be almost snatched from the hands of death. He got it that bad and he was vaccinated. So, the human being is a very strange creature.
You never really fully know.
You never really fully know till you investigate, till you prove something. And till you prove it, everybody is going to tell you, ha. Because I've heard that.
But then what's this whole immunity fuss then? Like, you're making everything sound like कुछ भी कर लो, जो कहते हैं ना बड़े बुजुर्ग, कुछ भी कर लो, जो होना है वो तो होके रहेगा.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. So immunity works at various levels. One is that you're able to fight what comes in, which you're fighting all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. One is that you don't let it come in, which we can't control. If we are swimming in the sea, then we are going to be touched by the water, and it is going to affect us in some way or the other. So what comes in, how it affects your body, then depends on a lot of things. Medical science says that it only depends on XYZ factors. Now we are beginning to see that there is ABC also. So when I tell you about vagal breathing, when I tell you about meditation and sleep, these are the things which are there in our scriptures also.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can document, I've given you a live example. You can document that simply breathing right can change the way your heart is beating. But the heartbeat is a very biological thing. So the nerve which has been least studied and which is now coming up more and more often is the vagus nerve. When we say vagal breathing, when we say the brain-gut connection, when we say the rest and recovery response, when we say relaxation and meditation, we are talking about vagal tone.
What's that?
So the vagus is the longest running nerve in our body, which starts from the brain, which passes through the chest into our abdomen and into our pelvis.
Okay.
So anything that, and that's why you say the gut feeling, something is not right.
Yeah.
Because you have the instinct to pick up what is wrong, because the vagus is traversing the whole body. And it is this nerve which is also responsible for bringing down the heart rate. When you are anxious, the heart rate races up.
Yeah.
When you are anxious, you do deep, shallow breathing. When you are resting, it's like
calms down.
So these are all vagal responses. And while they may happen reflexly when you are in that state, but by doing these consciously, you can trigger that state, which is what meditation does.
Yep. So you tune it.
So you can tune it.
Yeah.
You can consciously breathe deep. And interestingly, if you have, when you're reading something and it says, and he breathed deep, you will find yourself breathing deep.
Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah, absolutely. You just imbibe that automatically. This also connects to when we talk about anxiety. Anxiety is internal, and then it's caused by factors outside of us as well. Uh, let's say the noise, the noise here, and the noise here, and the noise on the street, that causes us anxiety. Our anxiety makes us make more noise. It's both ways. Yeah. So if we know that, okay, we can tune into our nervous system and calm it down, why is it so difficult, and why are we making more and more noise, internal and external?
Some of it we can't control.
What is it that we can't?
So, supposing you're in a noisy street, the ears don't have lids.
Yeah.
You can close your eyes to what you don't want to see, but you can't close your ears to what you don't want to hear. And going back to what we were discussing earlier, that requires policy decisions. This thing,
The levels,
paradoxically, is flying under the radar for most policy people. Any traffic junction, and I have an app on my phone which measures noise levels. You can do that. You can download it, it's free. The traffic noise is more than a factory floor noise at any given time at any major crossing in Delhi. Delhi is one of the noisiest cities in the world. And you can't shut it out. You can roll up your windows and maybe decrease it by 1 or 2. You can probably have some pleasant music in the car and maybe drown it out a little more, but you can't shut it out completely.
No way. Yeah.
And some cities have done something about it. So it's not as if nothing can be done about it, but it requires effort at another level, another magnitude, and it requires commitment. So interestingly, Kathmandu did it. Kathmandu made
That's
itself,
such a high traffic, unorganized
it
place.
made itself a zero horn city. Zero horn city, zero tolerance.
It's implemented.
You will be either fined or put behind bars for honking.
Wow. Amazing.
It changed the city completely. Bombay did something interesting again. What Bombay did was that they put a noise level meter on every traffic light. And people do that, no? When the light is red and about to be green, tan. मतलब आगे वाला हिलेगा तभी तो तुम हिलोगे, उसके आगे वाला हिलेगा तभी तो वो हिलेगा. Why the impatience? Either you will
बजाने से हिलेंगे लगता है.
So what Bombay did was that if the noise level crosses a certain level, the light will turn red again for another cycle.
खड़े रहो. सही है.
And in a city like Bombay, which requires people to be running all the time, it forces you to just खड़े रहो.
एक बार होगा फिर उसके बाद दोबारा नहीं करोगे.
तुम ही late हो रहे हो.
Yeah. Excellent.
But in Delhi, we haven't been doing that. In Delhi, I think what I know is only 2 traffic crossings have a sound level meter, and that's not a dedicated traffic sound level meter. One is the ITO crossing, which has the INSA, the Indian National Science Academy, which has put a noise level meter on their building. So you see
That's picking it up.
So you pick up the noise there. The other is somewhere in this AIIMS Safdarjung area, and that is also an institutional meter. It's not traffic meter. So
it's not been done.
So it's not been done in Delhi at all. Wherever I can and whenever I can and wherever I have the opportunity to, I just make a request of people. I tell them that if not entirely horn free, just make sure that you tell yourself that one day of the week you commit to a zero horn day. And if you can do that, and if tens of thousands of cars are doing it, bikes are doing it, on a khali sadak ka stretch, you will and
Yeah.
there's nobody in front of you,
There's nothing blocking. Who are
nothing
you
blocking you.
talking
Who are
to?
you doing that to?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you commit to a zero horn day, one day of the week, you will probably bring down the noise level by 20%.
The population that we are.
The population itself will see the difference in their mental health levels that is contributing to anxiety. So
what happens?
So
Scientifically, what happens?
So what happens is that when the noise is going in, the stress hormones are getting secreted, because otherwise nature sounds like flowing water, birds, rustling of leaves. These are vagal sounds. These promote shallower defocused. You know that you're safe. They don't trigger you. They don't trigger you, you're safe. So you're in that state where you're safe. So your stress hormones are down, your cortisol is down, your adrenaline is down, your heart is not triggered to beat faster, you're not wired up like a spring ready to pounce. That affects the heart. The adrenaline makes the heart beat faster. The cortisol blunts the brain responses, perpetuates that feeling of safety not being there. All of this goes down to the body and causes you to be... So, particularly Indian population, there are studies that say that we are aging 20 years faster than the global population because of the noise that we are immersed in. 20 years. So a 20-year-old is actually equivalent to a 40-year-old in Europe.
I would be 24. Somewhere. Really?
And because all this is not being brought out into the public discourse, it's not getting addressed. People think कि इसको irritation होती है.
इसका problem है.
इसका problem है. It's not...
ये नहीं समझ में आ रहा है कि आपके खुद के साथ क्या हो रहा है.
सबकी बायोलॉजी अफेक्ट हो रही है. कुछ लोग उसको मेडिटेशन से थोड़ा बहुत कंट्रोल कर लेते हैं, तो इंस्टेड ऑफ 40 you could come down to a 35 or a 30, but you are still older than your biological age, your chronological age.
And this you're saying scientifically understood.
Scientifically proven. Studies to prove it.
Of course, noise bothers me, bothers you, bothers everybody. So there's no dichotomy about it. But one is that, okay, when there is this irritating sound, then it irritates you. That's what it is.
So the noise has its effects on 3 levels. One is the auditory effects of noise. Your ear can only tolerate so much. If you give it too much, then there is what we call noise-induced hearing loss. Then there is what we call tinnitus, the ringing sensation in the ears. And sometimes when it is too much, there might even be issues with balance, that you might feel dizzy. So hearing loss, tinnitus, and balance issues, which are the auditory effects of what happens in the ear. Then there is psychological effects of noise: irritation, anger, aggression, sometimes depression, anxiety. Then there is biological effects of noise: adrenaline, cortisol. It suppresses the serotonin and the dopamine, which are your feel-good hormones. It increases your anxiety-driven, stress-driven hormones, the cortisol and the adrenaline. So you are constantly in a state of inflammation.
And this is, you're talking about the noise of the sound that we hear.
The noise of the sound that we hear.
Not internal.
No, this is not internal at all.
So this is almost out of control.
So this is out of control, and this is what actually is amplifying the internal noise also, because what is happening outside is creating the milieu for you to feel more stressed and anxious, which is creating more internal noise.
More helpless you feel, you can't do anything, you're not liking it, but you can do nothing about it. Oh my God. So, I had no idea about the biological part, for sure. That's new.
There are several studies to prove it. Several. So if you look at how the laws are made, as the Industrial Revolution started, the first noise laws, in fact, perhaps were made in India and England.
So then, like you very beautifully said that the ears don't have a flap to close. So then, is it a good thing to wear the headphone and cuff it, or
So in some situations, and the automatic noise cancelling, in some situations it does help in the recovery. So if you do just half an hour of silence with these ANC headphones, it's supposed to help you recover from a day of noise. Just half an hour. Just half an hour. If you want to make it better, listen to something that reminds you of nature. Flowing water, rustling leaves, ocean sounds. You remember there was one India Today series that had come out, Music of the Space, Music of the Universe.
Yeah, the whole series was there.
Why did it speak so much to us? Because it grounded us back into our nice, quiet, relaxed, recovered state.
True.
And so even the International Conference on Noise Prevention is now redefining noise. And they say that, पहले ये कहते थे that it is unwanted sound.
Yeah, sound is unwanted.
The unwanted sound is called noise.
Yeah.
But now we are saying that sound that is unwanted or harmful is called noise. And harm we can document. Unwanted we can't document.
Subjective.
It's like, Moksh likes metal.
Yeah.
It could be noise for
somebody
else.
Yeah.
And so it's not about wanting it or not wanting it. It is about how much harm it causes.
And how does that get documented?
So you can do even salivary cortisol levels.
Really?
You can measure the stress hormones in your saliva. It would be very interesting to do this study in Delhi, but people have done it in Italy. People have done it in Netherlands.
It's possible to do it in Delhi?
Why not?
We have
labs which can do it.
Yeah.
So if you measure how much, and go out into the traffic and have your saliva tested, take a weekend off and have your saliva tested, and you will see the difference. Wow. So you can actually, तुम्हारे थूक से पता लग सकता है कि
कितनी बैंड बजी हुई है,
कितनी बैंड बजी हुई है.
Oh my God. मतलब और कुछ ज्यादा बड़ा कुछ करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. Oof. And but we haven't heard of these tests.
we only.
आप डॉक्टर लोग छुपा के क्यों रखते हो?
कोई डॉक्टर लोग छुपा के नहीं रखते. डॉक्टर लोग भी नहीं सोचते, honestly. When you go to a conference and you're handed a mic to talk to an audience in a room which is not much bigger than this studio, you feel why?
You can be heard.
You
just
can
like
be
that.
heard.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. When I go into conferences with small gatherings, I tell them I don't need a mic. If you can't hear me, move closer.
Yeah.
But I have enough throw in my voice to be heard.
So were you always an obedient child? No. Looks like you're like such a this good girl, does everything properly, learns her lessons. No.
No.
Oh my God. You hid it really well.
So I was the good girl, yes, always. But I've been the one who climbed on forbidden rooftops on summer afternoons, grazed my knees, dived into the drums which used to keep the grain in the house, and not been able to.
I can't imagine you doing that.
And not been able to get out. So, I've been that kid. I've also been the kid who, नहाते नहाते पानी चला गया, अब क्या करें? तो hold the tap and try to suck water from the piping कि हम इतने powerful है कि पानी आ
पानी
जाएगा.
खींच लेंगे.
So I've been that kind of a kid. But yeah, I was mostly liked by my teachers. I was mostly liked by my parents. I don't think many people have stories to tell about me, but I have internal stories.
You have, because you've not been caught as much.
Not been caught as much. I've been good at it.
So that's the smart part of you. You've been there, done that, but not been caught.
And also, we didn't have phones to record everything
I
that we did.
know, yeah. Oh, such a beautiful time.
Yeah.
You could only record what you wanted to record.
And you know that thing about tasting the Colgate?
Yeah.
I think we all have done that.
All,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh God.
That was passed on from cousins to cousins. It's a have to. You have
Yeah,
to do
it
that.
was a growing up ritual.
Yeah. Yeah. And,
Unlike growing up rituals of today.
which is pretty much the screen. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And do you continue to be this person who does whatever she wants to and doesn't get
Hugely.
caught?
Hugely.
Still, huh?
Hugely.
Pro हो गए हो आप.
So, नहीं, as I told you ना कि trust crisis है तो मैं तो वही कर रही हूँ जो मैं करना चाहती हूँ. And which is why I told you that I am probably a square peg in a round hole. I don't fit. And
Where you don't fit?
anywhere.
What are you saying?
I don't fit anywhere.
What are you saying? Where would you not fit?
Sensitive. So I'm an empath. I'm an HSP. I'm an INFJ. And I'm good at hiding the storms. I do feel for the people around me. And I feel properly what's happening in everybody's lives around me. So I can walk into a room and know somebody's sad. I can walk into a room and feel the sadness. I can walk into a room and know somebody's upset, and I can feel that upset. Over a period of time, I have, through the exploration and the training with various things that I have done, built that personal shield. Not always good, but helps me to create a boundary where one should exist.
Otherwise, there's danger.
Otherwise, I would be like the stream which is just continuously being emptied. There is no source, but there is only outflow. Because I can't help it. I can't help but feel those feelings, and I know that, and that's why I say that, you know, creating that boundary lets you know that theek hai, this is what I could do, and I should be okay with that. Beyond that, if somebody else needs me, they reach out to me. Beyond that, I'm not going to do anymore.
And is that something that you've trained yourself in?
I think so. And I think
because you're so aware of it.
yeah. So, you know, going through all the things that I've gone through, whether it was Silva earlier, then Reiki, then Landmark, I think the one thing that I wanted to do was, of course, make an impact, but also be able to sustain doing so. Because you can't sustain that kind of outflow as a normal human being.
Yeah.
You can't.
Not
do that.
forever. And is that who you were born as? Or it's the life incidences?
See, we don't have any birth memories. Our
But
memories
as long
are
back as you can.
yeah. So
think.
as long back as I can remember, the first memories that I have, and again you'll find that in Yonder. That's how the book starts. The first memories that I have are that of being a 1.5 year old kid holding a 1 month old baby in my lap on a rooftop. And so one way of looking at it is that my dad actually trusted me to do so.
I was thinking that, yeah. Somebody obviously let
Yeah.
the baby on your lap.
Yeah. So one way of looking at it is my dad trusted me to do so. So I had to be strong enough to do so. And the other way of looking at it is, wow. But everything, and as a 1.5 year old, you don't have language to say this. This is what I discovered in Landmark. And also, when you have to be something, then you're hiding something you're not. And the stronger that image projected, the more the lack of it.
Yeah.
So inside, you know that you are having to make that effort to be something that you want to be. But in the Landmark analogy, the apple and the orange are not the same. But also, it allows you to function in the world and make it a better place. It puts a certain sense of responsibility on you and accountability to yourself. Because if not you, then who? If I don't ask the questions that I can ask, then who will? If I don't provide the answers that I have, then who will? And I keep going back to COVID, but I think COVID brought it all very sharply into focus for me. That I'm not special in any way. I'm not somebody who is endowed with any special powers or anything, but I have a certain way to look at the world. I am willing to put it to test, prove it. And if I can prove it, then it is my responsibility to at least make a difference to the people who touch my life. I haven't gone and written research papers on COVID and its effects. I am only treating the patients who find me. I'm not seeking out patients. But patients have found me from Instagram, from YouTube, from my hospital practice, from the lectures that I did. And once they find me, then they know that somebody cares. And that is enough. That's
huge.
That's enough.
That's huge. Yeah.
At the same time, if we were to look at the medical fraternity, they would need me to prove my hypothesis. They would need me to write research papers on it. And they would need me to... so I feel like if I can make a difference to 100,000, 10,000 people, I've done my bit. Yes, I could probably do more, but I don't have the time, energy, or even the bandwidth to do that, which should not stop me from doing what I'm doing.
Or as much as you can.
Or as much as I can.
So, since you understand this so deeply and you obviously practice it as much, have there been occasions where the theory or the rubber did not meet the road?
Of course. Of course.
Would you be able to share some?
As I said, the biggest practice ground is your family. So it usually happens with your family, where the rubber does not meet the road. Or when it meets the road, there is screech, fire and smoke. So those things do happen. And there have been times when my kids have made video recordings of me telling them off and showing them to me later on. Wicked.
Very wicked.
But but once you see how ugly you were in that moment, in the moment that you did not practice what you preach, how ugly you were, it's another level of disgust with yourself. And uh, I know not not having been able to do it is very human. Being shown the mirror by your own family is not pleasant.
It's not pleasant. Yeah, that's simple.
But nobody else will do it. And they also do it because they feel hurt by your ugliness at that time. They also do it only because they know that you're not that ugly.
Being such a deep person yourself, and also somebody who shares your insights and your feelings and observations in many different ways, you have your patients as one channel of coaching and mentoring. You have your family, your friends, and everybody. And now with this, let's say there are 100 more people who are going to listen to you, and you're talking about taking a stand, which I'm sure, of course, you do, but this is one common thing that you must be telling everybody. But किस चीज का stand लेना है? इतनी इतनी मारामारी है जिंदगी में.
So, because of all these varied roles, I had to pull together something that could be an umbrella for everything.
Yeah.
And I was considering counseling, I was considering psychology, I was considering several different things. And then I came upon life coaching. And I went through certification to become an ICF certified coach. What I feel is that again, like Landmark did, has taught me that everybody has their own individual stand to be taken. They are completely able to do so if only somebody were to show them what is happening to them. The answers are all inside.
But there must be somebody to show.
But usually.
Usually, yeah.
Usually.
For most people.
For most people. So, for the people who are restless, definitely they need somebody to show them. For the people who are just languishing, probably they don't feel the need for it, but sometime they will. And when they do, they should know that there are people who are willing to do that work with them.
Just that faith, just knowing.
And also, everybody is in the same storm, but they're not on the same boat.
I guess what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you know your boat well. You may not be aware of your boat, but you know it. So, somebody who can ask you the right questions about your boat will let you steer it well. You are able to do it.
Any which ways.
Able to do it.
So let that person be. First of all, don't shoo them away.
So when people start pontificating, it finishes there. वो मेरा दिमाग भी बंद हो जाता है. I am nobody to advise you how to live your life. If you come to me and ask me, बॉस मुझे ना बहुत दिक्कत हो रही है इसमें, क्यों हो रही है? What is feeling threatened? What is missing? And you know what is missing, what is feeling threatened.
Yeah.
You will come up with your own answers.
Yeah. You just have to be an anchor to get the right thoughts out.
Yeah.
And then the person will find their way out.
Absolutely. And I think my books offered me that anchor also. Because the first
writing
them. The first book that I wrote was an answer to a challenge. So Sanjay told me that you will not buy another book till you write one of your own. And I spent a year writing it when the rest of the family slept. I used to start writing around midnight and used to write till 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And I joined some online writing circles. And I wrote the entire manuscript over a period of, I think, 8 months or 9 months. That was the first book. The second book then, I thought I will be a one-book wonder. Log kahenge ki ek likhi bas, khatam. The second book then I wrote as a challenge to myself. And that I wrote in what is called NaNoWriMo, which is National November Writing Month. It is an online forum where writers get together, do their own thing, and they're supposed to come up with about 1,500 words a day over a period of November. And they have a manuscript of about 75,000 words, which can then be edited or whatever done to it over the period of next howsoever many months.
Wow.
So that was Yonder. The third book is a book on Hindi poems, which was a challenge from my publisher. So he told me that English तो आप बहुत अच्छा लिख लेती हैं,
हिंदी
लिख के दिखाइए, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है आप कर लेंगी. So I told him, I said नहीं होगा. He said, okay, let's give it a while. It just festered in my brain for a while.
Challenge तो आप ले ही लेते हो.
It was marinating.
Challenge किसी ने कर दिया तो अब तो भाई देखना पड़ेगा.
फिर वो एक बारी जब momentum हुआ तो the transition that I was going through last year, the fact that I was having to leave my 25-year-old very, very, very dear organization. I mean, I lived and breathed and worked there, and some circumstances that came up which needed me to leave, and it was not easy for me. I still haven't 25 years. I have still not let go of the sense of injustice and the sense of a loss of freedom of expression. Which is why those things hurt more, because they're your deeply held core values. So the book Ityadi, it's a book of Hindi poems which is sort of exploring those emotions. There's a series of about 37, 38 very disjointed poems which are emotions of everyday life through that year.
All those disjointed emotions.
All those disjointed emotions.
I'm going to read all of it.
And also, every poem has a facing picture, which is a photograph clicked by Sanjay. So it's
double delight.
So it's a very small book. You can probably, if you just want to race through it, read it in an hour. But if you want to really feel the emotions, then just keep it in your purse and read it every now and then.
Now, I'm of course, thank you for sending it to me. I'm of course going to read it, and I'm also going to leave the buying links for everybody to do that, because it's a part of what I now understand is that these are very important phases of your life which you've captured in the book. So it's not just any other fiction.
No, this isn't. Yeah.
So we'll get to know you so much more from that. Great. Thank you, Doctor. Very weird way to say thank you, but just for this conversation. Really.
Thank you.
Authors जब एक एविड रीडर खुद होते हैं तो उनकी सबसे बढ़िया क्वालिटी ये होती है कि वो बहुत ही क्यूरियस माइंडेड होते हैं, पढ़ते हैं, दूसरों ने जो रिसर्च करी है, जो लिखा है किताब में, उस पर ट्रस्ट करते हैं, और अगर वो खुद ऑथर बन जाते हैं तो मेरे हिसाब से ये एक अलग ही स्टेप हो जाता है, क्योंकि वो अपने थॉट्स को दुनिया के सामने रखने की हिम्मत रखते हैं, जो कि ईजी नहीं है कि अपना नाम, अपने थॉट्स सामने रखना, क्योंकि अब दुनिया आपको उससे जानेगी. सो इट बिकम्स योर आइडेंटिटी. सो बहुत ही ग्लैमरस होता है ऑथर का, आज भी बहुत अच्छी रेपुटेशन है, ग्लैमरस होता है, बट उतनी हिम्मत रखना, उतने करेज मस्टर करना कि आप अपने थॉट्स को, अपने नाम को बाहर रखो, एंड देन लेट द सिस्टम टेक ओवर, लेट पीपल कमेंट, लेट पीपल टॉक अबाउट इट. आई थिंक दैट्स वेरी वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग, एंड इसके बारे में बहुत कम बात करी जाती है. वी टॉक मोर अबाउट द ग्लैमर पार्ट ऑफ द ऑथर. सो डॉक्टर निधि इज़ वन सच पर्सन. आई थिंक मैंने जो पूरा इनके साथ कॉन्वर्सेशन में मेरा जो एहसास हुआ वो ये कि वो इतनी ऑथेंटिक हैं, इतनी खुद के लिए इतनी कमिटेड हैं, इतनी ऑनेस्ट हैं कि वो जो चीज़ इतने हल्के से बोल जा रही हैं, जैसे कि ये कि उनके बच्चों ने उनकी वीडियो बनाई और उस वीडियो में उन्होंने अपना आउट इंटेग्रिटी देखा, जिसको वो अगलीनेस भी बोल दे रही हैं. आई थिंक दिस इज़ नॉट एट ऑल अ स्मॉल थिंग, वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू डू, टू एक्सेप्ट एंड अगेन टू पुट इट ऑन अ पॉडकास्ट जो कि अगेन एक पब्लिक फोरम पे जा रहा है, राइट. सो इट्स जस्ट वेरी वेरी ब्यूटिफुल कि वो अपने आप से इतनी अटैच्ड भी हैं और उसके बाद इतनी डिटैच्ड भी हैं. And she knows that her life is beyond these small meanings and these identities that we give to ourselves. So she's constantly detaching herself. That's really beautiful. In fact, जैसे उन्होंने बोला कि like the books that she wrote, एक book तो उन्होंने लिखी because वो लिखना चाहती थी, दूसरी book उन्होंने इसलिए लिखी क्योंकि वो एक one book wonder नहीं रहना चाहती थी, तीसरी बुक इसलिए लिखी क्योंकि किसी ने एक चैलेंज थ्रो किया. सो दैट इज़ अगेन समथिंग कि वो लिख तो रही हैं बट ऐसी थोड़ा कुछ भी तो ना लिख दिया. आई हैव रेड हर बुक्स, दे आर एब्सोल्युटली डीप, ऑनेस्ट एंड क्रेडिबल एंड समथिंग दैट आई कैन गिफ्ट टू अदर पीपल. सो ऐसा भी नहीं कि चैलेंज को लेते हुए कुछ भी कर रहे हैं. सो जब ऐसे लोग, भले ही वो कोविड के बारे में हो, भले ही वैक्सीन्स के बारे में हो, भले ही यंग लोगों की एज एंड मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में हो, कुछ भी अगर बोल रहे हैं तो वो खाली कहा सुना नहीं बोल रहे हैं, वो ऑब्जर्व करा हुआ, फील करा हुआ और फुल ऑनेस्टी के साथ विदाउट एनी एजेंडा बोल रहे हैं. एंड सच पीपल आर सो प्रेशियस, सो प्रेशियस. आई एम ग्रेटफुल टू माई ओन पॉडकास्ट कि पॉडकास्ट की वजह से मुझे ऐसे लोगों से मिलने का मौका मिलता है, जानने का मौका मिलता है और वो मेरी लाइफ के पार्ट बन पाते हैं, हमारी टीम के पार्ट बन पाते हैं, आपके पार्ट बन पाते हैं. सो वेरी वेरी स्पेशल. आई होप यू एन्जॉय इट. प्लीज़ लाइक एंड शेयर दिस पॉडकास्ट हर उस इंसान के साथ जो आपको मैटर करता है, बिकॉज बात ही इतनी सुंदर है. और इस कनेक्शन में 2 पॉडकास्ट जो मैं रिकमेंड करूँगी वो है रजत मित्रा जी का, जो कि साइकोलॉजिस्ट हैं. उन्होंने ट्रॉमा पे बहुत काम किया है, ऑथर भी हैं. तो अगेन अ वेरी सिमिलर पर्सनालिटी जो ट्रांसजेनरेशनल ट्रांजिशंस एंड ट्रॉमास को स्टडी करते आए हैं और उस पर काम भी करते हैं. खाली बातें नहीं करते हैं, एक्चुअल इम्प्लीमेंटेशन करते हैं, अपने पेशेंट्स को उन चीज़ों से बाहर निकालने में हेल्प करते हैं और ये सारी चीज़ों से जो सीखते हैं वो अपनी किताबों में लिखते हैं. सो अगेन अ वेरी वेरी interesting and a worthwhile person to go through. And Radhika Iyer, the latest podcast. What an incredible woman. Very honest. Again, she talks about it कि validation कितना ज़रूरी होता है लाइफ में. So हर एक पॉइंट के तक जब तक हम काफ़ी कुछ स्पिरिचुअली इवॉल्व नहीं हो जाते, हम वैलिडेशन ढूंढ रहे होते हैं. वो भी ढूंढ रही थी. उन्होंने अपने कैंसर का जब रिलैप्स हुआ और जब उन्होंने वैदिक साइंसेस की तरफ बेंड हुई, वो क्लियर थी कि वैदिक साइंस की तरफ जाना है, बट फिर भी वो अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड्स का वैलिडेशन ढूंढ रही थी, यू नो. और जब उनको नहीं मिला वो वैलिडेशन और उन्होंने अपने हार्ट की सुनी, वो चल तो पड़ी उस राह पे, बट उस वक्त हर्ट हुआ, मैटर करा. लेकिन थैंक गॉड कि उन्होंने अपने हार्ट की सुनी और उस वैलिडेशन को छोड़ पाई. तो आज वो एक इतनी अकम्पलिश्ड अनाहता ऑर्गेनिक की फाउंडर है, रा फाउंडेशन की फाउंडर हैं और अपनी बीमारी, अपनी हेल्थ से आगे बढ़कर वो प्रोडक्ट्स एंड सर्विसेज बना रही हैं जो कि आई थिंक उनके बाद तक, उनके जाने के बाद तक रहेंगे एंड इट विल हील पीपल. सो दीज आर दीज इनक्रेडिबल पीपल, यू नो. ये साइलेंट वॉरियर्स हैं, डॉक्टर निधि, रजत मित्रा, राधिका अय्यर एंड आई थिंक ऑल द गेस्ट ऑन फ्लोटिंग विद द फिश. आई होप यू अप्रिशिएट इट and I hope you like it. Please let us know what kind of more conversations you want to have. किस तरह की guest, किस तरह के topic आपको interest करते हैं, बताइए हमें. We will try and make it happen. Thank you. Keep flirting with the fish.